So Fred Matiang'i has been silent, and suddenly during maandamano, Kenyans call out on him and he resurfaces. But many people don't understand why Fred Matiang'i was called out by the young people during that time. According to me, it's because for a very long time, Fred Matiang'i was one of the best or the most credible leader we have seen in the history of Kenya after a period of time. And while he resurfaced that time, the DCI raided his home, and it took the intervention of 3 MPs from Kisii to go to State House to intervene for Fred Matiang'i. That made Fred Matiang'i to go low for a while, and that was a clear indication that someone in the deep state is not actually happy with Fred Matiang'i resurfacing back to the limelight of Kenyan politics. And this because during the tenure of President Uhuru Kenyatta, Fred Matiang'i was being used by the president to discipline the people like the current president of Kenya, that is William Ruto. Remember, there is this time Fred Matiang'i, while in the parliament, he aired out all Ruto's property, how he acquired them, and questions as to why or how the current president acquired that wealth, and why they were questioning the amount of wealth the president had. Now, time went by, Fred Matiang'i has been silent, and he has again resurfaced. And this time he has resurfaced with a new strategy, coming for the seat of the president. But also, that has not taken so much time, because in the newspaper The Star, it is dated whereby Fred Matiang'i is being faced with a new case in court. And the case is the 6.5 billion IDP scandal that happened 7 years ago. And the arising of this case right now sounds peculiar, because this is a scenario whereby when you rise up, someone hits your head to go down. But now, what should Fred Matiang'i do to remain in the limelight of politics, if not grab the bull by its horn? Now, the more he's dragged in the courts, the more he's dragged in the mud, the more all this is being done by this government, Fred Matiang'i will get a lot of sympathy votes. Now, today I want to share why Fred Matiang'i should not again disappear and resurface again, but rather remain in the game of politics until 2027, so that he can outseat the current president, either by deputizing Kalonzo Musyoka or by being the presidential candidate, because a lot is being said that Fred Matiang'i is being groomed by Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Amolo Odinga. My name is Movali Derrick, and welcome to the Political Spotlight. I want to appreciate each one of you who has taken time to subscribe to this channel. That goes a long way for me, and also for those who leave me comments. It helps the conversation going, and also helps me get your views on the things that are happening in the political landscape of this nation. So, for those who have not taken time to subscribe to this channel, kindly hit the subscribe button, hit the share button, and take 1 minute to leave me a comment in the comment section. Now, without much ado, let's get into the conversation. Why can Fred Matiang'i win come in 2027? And first of all, let's talk about his strategy. Fred Matiang'i has enlisted the services of a Canadian lobbying group from Dickens and Madson, a committee and he has given a retainer fee of 32 million Kenyan shillings for his campaign push towards the 2027 presidential campaign. Now, so many people don't know the Dickens and Madson group. This firm is led by the controversial former Mossad agent Ari Ben Menashe, with the lobby influential agencies in Kenya, the United States, and other foreign states, to boost the international profile of people and support fundraising efforts for people who approach this company for support or for help during their campaigns. And Fred Matiang'i has enlisted the services of this company. Mossad Group, you see, we have the CIA, we have the FBI, we have the SWAT. Now, Mossad is from the Arabian parts. This guy is a former Mossad agent, and he has the knowledge of acquiring intelligence to help someone acquire a seat. And the services of these Dickens and Madson Group have been witnessed in Botswana. And it has played a role in the 2024 Botswana election, where they have successfully supported the campaign of the newly elected president of Botswana, that is Duma Boko. And documents filed in the United States Department of Justice under Foreign Agents Registration Act show that Matiang'i has already made a $65,000 down payment for the farm services. This is a very deep strategy by Fred Matiang'i, because number one, for Fred Matiang'i to counter the current political landscape, he needs knowledge, he needs information, he needs intelligence. And picking Madson and Dickens company, a company that is led by a Mossad agent who is highly educated on how to acquire intelligence, is gonna help Fred Matiang'i in gathering intelligence on how the the political landscape in this country sits like, on how citizens are reacting, on what Kenyans want, so that this can help him in building a profile for himself come 2027. Second, his closeness with Uhuru and Raila and the possibility of Fred Matiang'i teaming up with Kalonzo Musyoka come 2027 are very, very high. You know, during the reign of Uhuru Kenyatta, Fred Matiang'i was the closest ally to Uhuru Kenyatta. And even when the current president started campaigning in 2022, Fred Matiang'i was the one who was acting as a deputy president during the reign of Uhuru Kenyatta. And the closeness between Uhuru Kenyatta and Fred Matiang'i is that cannot be explained by our own, because it's something that goes deep below our normal understanding. And chances are, remember in 2022, there were 3 alliances in Kenya before we merged to come to 2 alliances. The first alliance was the Kenya Kwanza alliance by Dr. William Ruto and Rigathi Gachagua. Then the second alliance we had Azimio, which had Uhuru Kenyatta, it had Raila Amolo Odinga, and it had Martha Karua. Then the third alliance was Okoa Kenya Alliance, where we had Musalia Mudavadi, we had Moses Wetangula, and then we had Kalonzo Musyoka. Now, when people were trying to get people to their alliances, Moses Masika Wetangula and Musalia Mudavadi managed to join Kenya Kwanza. But first of all, it was Musalia who started. Then later, we had Kalonzo Musyoka with so much convincing from President Uhuru Kenyatta. He joined Azimio to support Raila Odinga. And remember, Kalonzo has been backing down for a very long time to support Raila's bid to become president. And in 2022, Kalonzo said he's not backing up Raila without a measure of reciprocity. This means that he's not supporting Raila Amolo Odinga if Raila Odinga is not going to support him come 2027. And Raila accepted the deal with Kalonzo Musyoka that was brought on the table by the help of Uhuru Kenyatta. Now, the closeness of Fred Matiang'i can have him and Kalonzo Musyoka work together, either as president and deputy president, vice versa, where Kalonzo can be the president, Fred Matiang'i the deputy president, or Kalonzo or Fred Matiang'i to become the president and Kalonzo Musyoka become his deputy president. This is something that can happen, and if these forces are going to align this way, it's going to be a threat to William Ruto. And that's why I think it's what Fred Matiang'i is facing, that whenever he rises, he's being taken down either by cases or by his home being raided, is because he is a threat to the current president. The president knows the power that Fred Matiang'i has. The president knows the forces that Fred Matiang'i has. The government knows how much Fred Matiang'i can do, because Fred Matiang'i was once a deep state. And once a deep state, always a deep state. Once a deep state, you know how the deep state operates. The third thing is his endorsement. At the beginning of this video, I told you that during the Maandamano, people started calling out for Fred Matiang'i. We want Fred Matiang'i back. We want Fred Matiang'i back. And people are like, it's because this Fred Matiang'i has been so strict with people, but it's because of his credibility. And his endorsement from young people gives him an upper hand, because in 2027, we might experience an election whereby young people are going to convince their parents to vote for a candidate whom they want. And also, if Fred Matiang'i is able to convince the young people very well to register as voters, many young people can vote. Though this has its negative side whereby you cannot back all your hope on young people, but young people have the possibility of shifting tides come 2027. So the endorsement of Fred Matiang'i from the youth during Maandamano is the other reason that gives Fred Matiang'i an upper hand in winning the 2027 election. And if he teams up with Kalonzo Musyoka, they get the support of Uhuru Kenyatta, who is the current Mount Kenya kingpin, and the mountain which William Ruto has already lost. Right now, William Ruto only backs on the support of Raila Amolo Odinga come 2027. But you know, Raila Amolo Odinga can shift and can change anytime. So if Raila Amolo Odinga changes in 2027, decides to support Kalonzo Musyoka, and if Kalonzo Musyoka in 2027 is in good terms with Fred Matiang'i and they are working together, that will be a force that the president and the current government cannot outsmart. And adding the tip of the iceberg is if Rigathi Gachagua is going to join the alliance of Uhuru Kenyatta, Kalonzo Musyoka, and Fred Matiang'i, and the support of Raila Amolo Odinga. Lastly, his policies and mode of leadership. He has this is a Trump-minded guy. Remember, Trump is this guy who is citizens first. And we have had the speeches of Fred Matiang'i. He says, if he's called to work, why should he refuse the call? So if Fred Matiang'i is coming to office, you know him as a leader who never gives shit He never gives it. He was the one who came with the idea that police should wear uniforms without pockets. He's the one who brought the... It was during his time that KCAC, there was very few number of A's compared to other regimes. Now, we know his policies as a leader. He is a credible leader. This gives him an upper hand to become the president come 2027. And if he's going to become the president, we know things like SHA or SHIF, we know things like the finance bill, we know things like Adani, their deal with Ketraco. You know, I see people clap that the president has done away with Adani, but you're forgetting that Adani is still in the country because they're the ones running the Ketraco. And it has not been said if Ketraco, Adani has dropped Ketraco deal. So these are things that if Fred Matiang'i is going to come to power, there are things that we may see him change, right? And if he's going to change these things, there are policies and things that are going to be in his manifesto as he campaigns towards 2027. That's why the current government does not want him to rise. And these attacks, the attacks against Dr. Fred Matiang'i, give him an upper hand because sympathy votes come this way. Take me to court. Remember, let me take you back in history in the reign of President Kenyatta between 2017 and 2022. There is this time the deputy president attended an event. Then the governor of that place spoke. The deputy president did not speak. And people are like, this is not right, right? There is this time Fred Matiang'i grounded the aeroplane of Dr. William Ruto when he wanted to fly to Uganda. And people are like, why should they ground the plane of the deputy president? Now, in one way or the other, so many sympathy votes went to William Ruto in 2022 because Kenyans were sympathizing with the actions that were being done to William Ruto back in the days. And the same thing is what Ruto is doing when he's in power. He's attacking Fred Matiang'i, they have attacked Rigathi Gachagua. So come if Fred Matiang'i, the reason I'm saying Fred Matiang'i should not go back low again, he should just continue soldiering on, is that the more he's being dragged to court, people will say, oh, so you're doing this to him because he's a nice guy. You're just trying to paint his name black. So he will get a lot of sympathy votes. What is your thought on the resurrection of Fred Matiang'i? Can Fred Matiang'i replace President William Ruto as the 6th president or as a deputy president in the next government come 2027? My name is Mavali Derek. This has been the Political Spotlight. See you again in my next video.